to put in a number for attendance, I believe. And that's the number you need to put up, is that one that says today's attendance pin is, it's 5C74W1. It's going to be different each week. It's just a way for me to take attendance without taking attendance. Yeah, you can go ahead and do it. Yeah. And so if you haven't yet filled that in, go ahead and do that. And I generally have this up by 20 after 7 for you. And I'll have the screen frozen. I'll usually have on the board what we're going to be going over that night. So, CIS120 is an introduction to Word, and we go over the basics of how to navigate Microsoft Word, whether you have 2007 or 2010. I believe the text we're using is 2007 for this class, but the concepts and techniques work for 2010 also, which some of you probably have at home, I'm guessing. And so there are some minor differences between the two, but not enough that we couldn't use the 2007 book. Because last semester they only had 2007 on these machines, that's why. So, how many has 2010 at home, by the way? Office 2010. Okay, all right. Well, I'll talk tonight about if you don't have Office at home at all, there are some options for you to where you don't have to purchase it if you don't want to. 60-day trial. It takes about 20 minutes to download and install from Microsoft's website. And so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the live chat that we've implemented this semester that might help since we only meet once a week. So, everybody have the pin entered in? All right, let's go and get started then. When you log into the site, it's going to look like this. On the left side, you'll have task, map, what's new, task, search, and about. The reason I have it set up like this is if you click on the plus symbol to the left of milestones, it gives you all the assignments with the due date, and a check mark means that you have completed that task for the most part. There are some times where something's checked, and like the About Me might be checked on yours and you've not even done it yet, okay, and you know you haven't done it. But if you think you haven't done something, you can click on this link in the milestone. It'll take you right to that assignment, okay? And then you can look at the bottom and say, oh, I didn't do it, okay? And so milestones is one way to see what's due, when it's due. The other way to see from a bird's eye view what's coming up is a calendar tab on the top of the web browser here. Calendar tab gives you a bird's eye view of when items are due. You'll notice you have a week from today. Most of my classes, everything's due the following Sunday, but since we meet Wednesday and it's only a once-a-week class, for this class, I've always given students a week to work on whatever assignment. So you'll have a week each time to work on your assignment from Wednesday to Wednesday, okay? This week's pretty easy. You're going to have a 10-question multiple choice. I think you got one true false in there maybe, and an About Me. Now, what's nice about the calendar view is when you put your mouse and hover over it, it'll tell you what it is, and then also you can click on it and then click View Item, and it'll bring you right to that calendar event. Okay, and if you wanted to go, navigate further, you can go next and see everything that's due. Everything that's on the calendar and everything that's that we're going to look at tonight is going to be pretty static. I'm not going to change it unless I mess something up, which I could have done possibly. So due dates aren't going to change, assignments aren't going to change. You're not going to have any surprises for not only this class, but if you're having me for 121 or 124, what you see the first week is generally what is going to be the whole time. Okay? So I know when I was in college, there's usually one or two professors that decide to throw pop quizzes or whatever once or twice a month. I'm not like that. So Anyway, any questions so far as how to see what's due from a snapshot view? Okay, let's go back to the course. You'll notice these are called, and I teach web development and web developer. These little icons here, or these little text with that are hyperlinks, are called breadcrumbs in web development, web language. If you click on the course link, it'll bring you back to the very first start page here, which had your attendance section. Yes. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing anything. I'm seeing a lot. Let's go back to the calendar then. Thank you. Just kind of quickly go through everything. So your milestones, calendar. You guys are probably going along with me figuring it out, but thank you for mentioning that. Now let's go back to the course. Okay, this online office area. Okay. Tons of people. I believe it can fit up to 10. I think something like that. Yeah, it's full. It's already full. Anyway, it's a way when we're out of class, when I'm not teaching class, you'll notice it says number 1, if the user Prof Conkle has a green icon to the left, I am online. So if you don't see Prof Conkle in there at all on the right side, you don't need to sign in and do anything because I'm not there. Make sense? Now, if you have, how many has Facebook? How many uses Facebook? You can sign into this with Facebook and chat if I am online, or you can sign in as a guest. If you sign in as a guest, the only thing I ask you to do is put your full name in there. And you can ask me any question if I'm online, and I'll be more than glad to answer that question immediately. And so I am online quite a bit. Monday, I do not teach here on campus at all, so pretty much from like 5 to 10, I keep my laptop up. And if somebody comes into this, it buzzes, so I know, and so I can answer your question. The other night, let's see, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm here on campus in the evening. So generally Monday night from 5 to 10, 4 to 7 on Wednesday night. I'm on Eagle generally in my office upstairs. And on the weekend, sporadically, I'll be on Eagle. I don't really tell students exactly when I'll be on, but I'd say probably 4 or 5 times a day I go onto Eagle to check if students have questions. So really the good static days for you to get me online to ask a question on this chat module will probably be a Monday from 5 to 10 or Wednesday from 4 to 7. So if you didn't want to come to campus to talk to me, you could use the chat feature if you wanted something instant, okay? If you don't worry about instant, you just want an answer to a question, you can email me in Eagle like you do each other and other faculty members. Make sense? So we'll see how this works. If it gets enough feedback, I can upgrade it for like $10 a month for unlimited, but if it's not used that often, I won't. So I'll find out real quick this first week how much it's used, because I'm using it for all my classes. And so, all right, so that's the online chat portion. On the right side here is any course announcements. Like for week 1 here, I believe I put in here the same text I gave you, the week 1 text, which is welcoming you to the class, and we're going to read the Getting Started document. Course mail, this is where you can view your inbox, send a quick message. It'll tell you if there's any unread messages. I always tell students, not just for this class, but for any class, log into Eagle at least once a day, see if there's anything that, any messages that you might have from me. Like I said, most likely, unless something happens emergency-wise, I won't email you for class purposes. You will get emails from me though when I grade things, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And so you could check for that. And then the discussion forums, just give what discussion forums for this class. For the 5 weeks, we only have one, which is the About Me, we'll talk about in a second. And then grades. This one I really don't like. It's a module in Eagle. You'll notice a tab in grades we'll go to in a second. I like that one better, because this one I believe you've got to refresh it for it to actually do anything. and work or something, so I don't really like it. These are, again, you might hate it, not, love it, don't care. I keep it in there. It just tells you, it tells me as a teacher how many logins have been attempted or came into the class, messages, submissions, and then course syllabus. So let's go ahead. I'm going to click on lessons last. We're going to focus on that before we go on, but let's go to the grades tab next. The grades tabs is just that. It tells you if you don't have a grade in a box here, I've not graded it, okay? Generally, since everything's done on Wednesday or due on Wednesday, I will grade everything. I will not grade anything till after the assignment is due. So even if you say you get your About Me done today and your quiz done tonight, and you're done for the week, it won't be graded. Well, the quiz is actually graded automatically, but the About Me I won't grade till next week, next Thursday. But when I do grade things, in Eagle it gives us the option as a faculty to put a check mark to send the student an email immediately, that grade. I will use that, and so you will get emails from me saying, here's the grade for whatever assignment. And so you kind of get double duty. You get the email, plus you can come into class to check the grade as well. If there's comments I give you on grades, it'll be over here. So that's a grades tab. Went over the calendar tab. Now let's go to the iTunes U tab. How many has used iTunes before, or you've heard of iTunes? Okay. Well, we use it here in all my classes. I use iTunes. I've changed it up a little bit though, in that I also use YouTube, which I'll talk about in a second. But what this is for is, if you're not familiar with iTunes, you might be familiar with iTunes, but you might not be familiar with podcasting. Everything that you're seeing on the overhead and hear from my voice is being recorded right now. And so at the end of the session tonight, this will be uploaded into week 1's folder as a YouTube video. Plus I'll upload it into iTunes. And what's cool about this is the difference between iTunes and YouTube is YouTube allows you to view a video in a web browser, okay? You can't download it natively to any device, but you can view it quickly for the most part. iTunes allows you to download that video in full form and then port it to a mobile phone, an iPod, whatever mobile device you have, a phone of any type anymore, takes most media types, and then you can port your iPod or your podcast into those devices. Now let me just real quickly show you. I'm going to click on this View in iTunes. If you do this at home and click on View in iTunes and you don't have iTunes, it will prompt you to download iTunes. It'll take you right to the website to download it, and iTunes is free. It takes about 10 minutes to download and install it, that long. You will get this little agree box the first time you use it. But let me go ahead and show you some stuff you can find on iTunes, because again, a lot of students are not aware of all the free podcasts that you can get and all the resources that are on iTunes. Okay, so here's our class in iTunes, embedded in iTunes, and all you'll do once you get iTunes downloaded and installed, it'll come right to the class, and you'll click subscribe free. Once you subscribe, it's going to say, do you really want to do this? Yes, I do. Click subscribe. And you'll notice downloads have already started, which is the last download in this podcast series, which was CIS120 week 3 that's still in there. But what it also does is, you'll notice in the library here, it created a new section called iTunes U. And in that section, it already put in there the Word 2007 class. And you just click on it, and this little spinner shows you it's still downloading. I always tell students, don't try to listen to a podcast until it's downloaded completely, okay? Especially if it's a video, because a lot of times if it's a video and you start playing it prior to it downloading all the way, all you're going to hear is audio, no video. Make sense? So Let's go ahead while this is downloading. I want to just show you real quick. You can just watch on the overhead some cool stuff you can find in the iTunes store. It has a category called podcast, but if you've never used iTunes, we use it at home all the time to rent movies, buy movies, all through iTunes, music, TV shows. So let's go to podcast real quick. What it's going to do here by default, it's going to give us a screen of real popular podcasts that people listen to by order of popularity. So NPR is the top podcast that people listen to, Adam Carolla, The Bad Show, list goes on and on. But it has categories as well to choose from. So if I go down here and say, you'll notice here university and colleges is a choice, beyond campus and K through 12. So you can actually go to other university and colleges like, you know, Stanford, and they've got tons of podcasts as well from classes, and you can, you know, learn quantum physics, or you can learn a language that you wanted to learn at no cost. And so really great. But let's go ahead and go over like technology. Let's go to that one. I think I might have clicked on teaching. Oh, I'm on iTunes U. I don't want that. I want podcast. I want technology. There we go. Okay. These are podcasts only in technology. Okay. Top podcast. Again, on the right side, these are by you know how many people's downloaded them. I think iTunes, last I checked, is something like 350 million hits a day, something like that. But Leo Laporte's a popular one. I'm trying to think, just looking at these ones. Leo Laporte I listen to. Geek Beat is a good one. Dig Nation, I believe, is ended. If they're not ending. They might still be on. Nope, they're the finale. I used to listen to these guys. But anyway, all these podcasts you're seeing is totally free, doesn't cost anything. What's cool about it, besides listening, you know, and subscribing to podcasts of your choice, you know, you can go into, you know, comedy, whatever category you want to go into, and it gives you the top comedy. Adam Carolla. Some of these are they call them clean or adult. It'll tell you in there if it's explicit. I mean, it could be language, it could be whatever, but it'll say explicit. What's cool too is, say you wanted to learn, I don't know, Spanish. So you want to learn Spanish, you just type in a search of whatever it is you want to learn. You go to the podcast category, and now you have all these like Coffee Break Spanish. This says learn Spanish with Coffee Break Spanish, bringing you language learning with Latte aimed at total beginners. Podcast will help you get the grip with the Spanish language. So it's got 127 episodes, totally free, doesn't cost anything. My niece, when she was in high school, took Spanish about 4 or 5 years ago in Colorado, and she needed help with Spanish. This is the one she actually used and helped her a lot. Didn't cost her anything. So pretty much any subject, whether you're taking it here on campus or you want to learn about it, you can get a podcast for free. Doesn't cost anything. So outside of what I have you subscribe, the only reason I really have you subscribe to iTunes, for most of you, you're not going to really care about downloading it and putting it to a device, but you might want to use podcasting, like I've just showed you, to find other stuff, for other information and you know, free learning basically. Okay. So any questions on podcasting or iTunes U or how I use it? Okay. Well, there is again. other classes here on campus. We have about 25 classes that use podcasting. So definitely recommend you maybe downloading a couple other podcasts and subscribing to them. And most students, whenever they do it, they really, you might download 10 of them and only end up liking 1 or 2 that you really listen to all the time. But they're free and it don't cost anything. And the great thing about iTunes is once you subscribe to a podcast, it'll automatically download the newest podcast for you without iTunes even running on your computer, because it's always running in the background once you install it. Has a background service that runs all the time that's constantly looking for new podcasts. So it looks like this one's finally downloaded. So all I do is basically, I can pretend you're at home and you're wanting to, watch, say, 20 minutes into a podcast. You can actually forward fast, because a lot of students, what they'll do is instead of taking notes, they'll just say, okay, 20 minutes into class, we talked about whatever. That's where I want to go to. And they write down 20 and go home and just forward fast to 20. You might only watch a couple minutes and you're done. If you want to go over something we went over in class. So it's just something to help you learn more effectively. And so that's why I do it. So that's iTunes. Now let me show you real quick. Let's see here. Communicate, we went over, that's email. Resources we don't use. Report we don't use. Automate we don't use. So now let's go to lessons. Lessons, you've got getting started, course documents, and then weeks 1 through 5. You guys won't see this on yours, I believe. In fact, I'll view mine as student view, so you won't see it. Okay, if by chance yours collapses like mine just did, there's a icon right here. You take your mouse and hover over it. It'll expand or collapse, either one, just by left clicking on it. Okay, so you guys see what I see then, basically, right? All right, let's go ahead and click on the Getting Started one first. Hopefully you've had time to purchase your text. If you haven't, please do so between now and next class period. Subscribe to the course podcast on iTunes, went over that. Read course syllabus, found on the lessons in the documents folder, and you can read that on your own time. And then About Me, the About Me in week 1. We'll go over that in just a second. So click back on lessons, go into course documents. Here's the About CIS120. Subscribe to course podcast syllabus. FAQs I'll add to as I just have stuff in there right now, past semesters that students needed help with. The data files link you don't need really for this class, but I put it's just extra word exercises if you wanted to delve into them. We don't use any of these, I don't believe, and so, but there are further exercises if you wanted to use them. Okay. And then week 1. We'll go over this. What I've done is under each one of the Dropboxes, a Dropbox is a folder with a pin on it, a drop pin. This icon is just a folder, and then this type of icon is a quiz. Okay? So the first one is a Dropbox discussion. Actually, this one's a discussion one. And this one you need to have it done by next Wednesday. And you're going to copy the below questions, create a new post, type in your first and last name, paste the questions into your new post and answer them, and then read everybody's post and reply to at least 2 people's posts between now and next week. You can do more than 2, but do at least 2. You'll have plenty of time to read everybody's. And so questions on that, on posting or replying. It's pretty simple in Eagle. If you do need help with anything Eagle, when you guys log into Eagle, you don't have to go there right now, I'll go there. When you log into Eagle, on the right side, I believe Kenny's got a Eagle training icon here you can click on, and you can either go to face-to-face Eagle sessions, or he has some online resources as well, I believe, that you can watch. So if you need help with whatever. Most of you are probably okay just going to the online. Yep.
We're submitting all of this.
Correct, yeah. Yes, correct.
So are we gonna, 'cause I see somebody's already posted something in.
Yep.
So when we copy this, and then we need to post it into a chat?
Yeah, let me show you real quick. Okay, the About Me, pretty simple. All you're going to do is highlight the questions, right, with your mouse, copy them, and then click New Post. And for the title, you're going to type in your first and last name, paste the questions into the message, and then type in the answers. That's amazing. This is nicer. All right. So then once you finish answering, you just click Submit, and there's one that you've submitted. Now you'll notice like Taylor, where's Taylor at? Taylor. You notice Taylor posted her original post. She has a plus to the left of hers, meaning somebody's replied already. If I click on that plus, it's David's already replied to Taylor's post. And so when you post something in here, under the author column will be your name. The title should be your name as well, and then the date you posted. The replies will say how many people have replied. And if you have had replies, it'll actually put a plus symbol there to the left of your name, and you can expand it and read everybody's replies. Okay? Now, when you reply to somebody's post, you don't have to reply to every question. You might just ask, like mine was Italian, what type of Italian or something like that, whatever. And again, you don't have to reply to everybody's, but I want you to reply at least to people's posts, to students' posts. So any questions on that? And again, you can rewatch this again on the podcast if you want to. All right, go back to the lessons, week 1. Getting started with Office 2010. Read before class. Most of you didn't see this because this site wasn't turned on till earlier today, so I don't expect you to have it read before class. But by next week, we'll kind of jump ahead here in a second for week 2 to see what should be read by next week. But for this week, you're good to go. But inside of each week, there's generally going to be a folder about that week's content. This one's just a getting started with Microsoft Office section, and it's the very first section of your guys' book. It has 2 folders in there, one called Topic Review and one called PowerPoint. The Topic Review is just that. It goes over everything, a synopsis of every item in that section. So say you read it and you're like, well, I don't remember reading anything about contextual tools. What's that? So you read it and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it means. So it's just a review of what it is that you were supposed to have read already. Okay? You're not graded on this. It's just a resource. Make sense? So if you want to recap something. PowerPoint presentations, 2 files are in there. You should see 2 files. One file has a globe on it, the icon. That one actually, if I click on it, it's going to try to launch it into another browser. This one here, if I click on it, it should let me download it. I'll check to see if all these work. If they don't, I'll fix it. But if you wanted to download a PowerPoint, this is supposed to let you download it. Looks like that one's not working. So let's see if I can open up this one in another tab real quick. Yeah, it looks like PowerPoint's not working, so we're not doing that anyway tonight. So, but anyway, I'll make sure all those are working by next week. And then the review test, getting started with Microsoft Office 2007, 2010. This one's due by next Thursday. This is due by next Thursday. And you guys are going to see it like this. 10 questions. It's got 9 multiple choice, 1 true false. So once you've read that beginning section in your book and went through it and read it, there's really not much for you to do, I don't believe, in that first section. It just kind of tells you about Office, and we'll kind of go over it a little bit tonight. We'll navigate Office and fire up Word. But once you've went over it, then take this. You have 3 opportunities to take it. You get the best score out of 3. And so let me go ahead real quick and pretend that you've taken it. And let's go to student view to where I can see this better. Will you guys see it the way I do? Let's see. There we go. Okay, so 3 attempts left, 18 points on this one. Most of them are going to be worth 40 points. First week's just 18 points. 3 attempts are available. Unlimited time. It's not timed at all. I do tell students to make sure that a computer that has good internet connection, because if it does time out or it fails on internet connection, you have to start over again. And sometimes students have actually lost everything they've done on it. So just make sure, if you have cable modem at home, which most of you do, probably no big deal. You're going to be okay. And then, so if I click begin now and say I'm done and I hit submit, but let's say you, I don't know, you have a phone call, you have to answer the door, you can click this save and continue. It says your answers will be saved, but the assessment will not be saved. Click OK to finish the assessment later or continue taking it. So that's a nice feature that you can save and continue where you're at and then come back later. But if you hit the submit button, it's going to save and grade everything that you've done. It'll tell you your points awarded, how many you missed, and the percentage. It'll also give you what the correct answers should have been for each one of the answers. Okay? So before you retake it again, what's great about it is it puts it in a hyperlink section here, the date and time of when you took that last quiz. So we'll pretend you're coming back the second time. You click on it, do a quick review of which ones you missed, and then retake it again. Make sense? Now you don't have to take it 3 times. If you get 18 out of 20 or whatever, 18 out of 20, 19 out of 20, that's fine. And you don't have to take it 3 times. Okay? But it is, if you do take it 3 times, you're going to get the best score out of 3. All right? Any questions on that, on quizzes? And all the quizzes are like that. This week you just have 1 quiz for week 1, due by next Wednesday. You also have the About Me, due by next Wednesday. The reason this week's pretty light is some of you still have to purchase your text probably. Some of you might be wanting to download Office at home maybe. Let's talk about that real quick. Okay? You can survive just doing everything here on campus if you wanted to. But while you're a student here on campus, there are some deals that you can get that you can only get when you're a student. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. In the, let's see, course, let's see, lessons, I've got it in here somewhere. Course documents. Might have put it in the syllabus, I don't remember. Yeah, there it is. If you scroll down in the syllabus to the requirement stuff, it gives you 3 options here, or 2 options. You will need to access to Office 2010 in order to complete exercises. And so you can buy discounted software here or download a 60-day trial here. Okay? So let me click on both of these to show you what they do. The discounted software is $99.95 for a full Office Professional Academic 2010. And you have to verify you're a student by giving them your student email, I believe, and that's about it. And then you pay the $99 instead of the $100 versus $300 or $400 for this outside of that. So it's pretty expensive. And you get everything. You get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Outlook, Publisher, and Access. You get all of it.
And this, it will be good, it doesn't expire?
No, it doesn't expire. It's yours. So if you wanted to buy it, you can do it this way. And you don't have to buy it now. You could do this. You could say, well, I want to, but I really can't afford to right now. You can do the second option, is the free trial, which will be plenty for this class, 5 weeks. Let me show you that one. This one, you download it for free, 60-day trial. You have to go through a sign-on, a free sign-on. Doesn't cost anything to sign on. You have to create a little account. But it has Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote in that one, I believe. And then I did do this last semester just to see how long it took. It took me on a cable modem 10 minutes to download and install it. Done. And it lasted for 60 days.
Don't they have a Flash version now too? I think it's supported by apps.
I don't know. Oh, they do have an online version for Office that we used last semester, but you have to have a registered version somewhere to use it. But yeah, you're right. They do have an online Office type of app now. It's built in the browser. And it's like Office Online or Office 360, I think is what it's called. Office 360, I believe is what it is. And it is a Microsoft product. But this one, if you can't afford or don't want to buy Office, everybody in here can do the 60-day trial. And if you have a cable or DSL modem, literally 10 minutes, you're done. And you don't have to worry about coming to campus to work on it. Make sense?
How long does it take to download the other one and to buy? Still about 10 minutes?
It's this one actually, when you, I would suggest, because it does give a download and a backup disk option for $15 more, or a download only. Last semester, the students that actually did this told me this is a better deal, because they'll send you a DVD in the mail, plus you have to download both for $15 more. That's what they ended up doing. Because, you know, I think a couple of them, their download failed or something, and it was a nightmare because they had to call and all that good stuff. So I would say that first option, if you're going to do it, do that one. Because you get the downloaded version, plus they send you a hard copy. So, any questions on Office 2010? So between now and next Wednesday, if you don't have Office at home, you've got to do the About Me. You're going to have to do the quiz and get Office installed, some of you. Okay, you're going to have to get Office installed. I would suggest doing that. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't install it. Even if you don't want to buy it, you can download the 60-day trial and be good to go. Okay? Questions on that? Okay, so Office 2010. Now let's look ahead a little bit, if we could, before we go over Office or Word tonight, before I let you go. Week 2, before you come to class next week, make sure you have read the first tutorial in your book, and it's, I believe, called Creating a Document is the section, okay? Read that, go over it. The way the book's made, it's pretty simple. It's a lot of pictures and few words, which I love, okay? And so you just basically have the words and pictures. There are some things that has you do while you're reading it. Just do that while you have Word open. It's kind of a read and do type of thing, all right? So have that done. The review test is on tutorial 1 as well, 10 questions just like this week. Then the Dropbox homework assignment we'll go over next week before you leave. This is the way I do each week's take home. You'll have a homework assignment that'll have a document that you'll generally start with or create on your own. It'll have step-by-step instructions. You'll submit it when you're finished, but I always have an example. This is what it should look like when you're done. To the T, no questions. Yes?
Well, on your instructions, it says go to your web browser, type in information. Are we supposed to do that, or are we just supposed to type in what you have?
Yeah, you basically, when you open up this one right here,
Yeah.
it opens up this thing. Yeah, you basically, you follow the instructions to the T. You start Word, open a blank document, save it as this, so you do exactly what it tells you to do here.
So it might look a little different because you would have different information.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And that's fine to look a little bit different. But the reason I give you this is so you kind of, you know, students know at the end when you're done, you know, what it should look like. So you don't feel bad. In fact, I tell students a lot of times to look at the end product first before you begin it. That way you have an idea in your mind what it should look like. That's fine, because you're replicating what it looks like. It's hard to understand something if you don't see the end product sometimes, especially if you're learning a new program. And so if this is the end product, what it should look like, and then you can, you know, you don't have to print it out. You just keep it on the screen and go back and forth. Make sense? And so that's each week you'll have a setup just like that. A beginning something. This one's actually a document I give you. Starting week 3, I believe it's documents in your text, step-by-step stuff in your text that you use with the finished product, a source product. And so like week 3, I believe, for the Dropbox, yeah, it's Word Project 2.1, creating a flyer. You click on that. I'm not giving access to that for you guys yet. And then the solution, you're able to download and see. Okay? So each week you have the assignment and the solution. And if you want to view the solution first, some students don't want to view the solution until they're done, or not at all. But if you want to view it, if you need help, view the solution first, see the end product. And I would probably, if I was to suggest one of the two, I'd suggest the latter, viewing a solution completed first. Then you have a better idea in your mind what it should look like. Okay, that's what it's there for. So there's no question you're not going to be struggling until midnight going, wonder what this thing's supposed to look like. You already know. Okay? Same with weeks 4 and weeks 5, same deal. All right? So let's go ahead and go over, just go ahead and minimize your web browser real quick if you would. You guys should have on your desktop Microsoft Office 2010. Do you have that? The icon? If you go ahead and double click on that, there's 6 icons in here. Access, PowerPoint, Visio, Excel, Publisher, and Word. We're going to double click on Word. We're just going to go over the navigation of Word and how it's made up, how it's broken up into different pieces. How many has used prior versions of Word before? You've used them, you know, a little bit here and there, their papers or whatever. Okay. Well, if you had Office 2007 or if you have Office 2007 at home, one of the big differences is this ribbon up here. They've changed a little bit, but not much in Office 2010. Okay? But one of the big differences between Office 2003 and before and then 7 and 10 is this ribbon. And not only that, but in 10 they implemented the file menu back. Whereas in 7 you guys had the circle icon, which people freaked out about for some reason. But it really was just file. It was a circle instead of file, basically. But they brought back the file. So let's go. I'm going to go over these real quick. So the file menu, the file tab, these are all tabs all the way across, allows you to open, save, print, send something via email, add permissions, different options for Word that we'll go over this next few weeks, like maybe, you know, spell checking, dictionaries, custom dictionaries, you'll learn that. Auto-save, languages that Word is default in. So say you work at a place where 2 people work on a computer or multiple people work on a computer, you might have 3 or 4 different languages possibly available for those, for that Word document, for that Word session. The Home tab is broken up into 4 or 5 pieces here. You've got the clipboard, font area. The clipboard, let me back up, allows you to copy and paste, cut. Font area allows you to add different types of fonts. The newest thing in Word in 7 and 10, 2007 and 10, it actually lets you see what the font looks like, whereas prior versions didn't. You had to click on the font and then, you know, one by one, highlight a portion of text to see what it looks like in that new font. So that's a new feature I actually like. It's pretty good. The other one is this here, shrink font increase font or grow font. That's a new feature in 7 and 10. And a couple of other features in here, but that's mainly. And then paragraph, all the paragraph stylings from alignment, left alignment, center, right alignment, justification, bullets, numbers, outline, increase, indent, decrease and increase indent. You'll learn all about that. Custom paragraph spacing, ascending and descending order on list quickly. Styles is new to 07 and 10. You can type a letter and apply a style to it. And the style will have different font sizes, family of fonts, colors, and structure. And that's new. And then editing, find and replace, that's the home tab. Insert tab. Insert tab, you go into such things, you'll learn blank page, page break, how to insert a custom table, picture, custom clip art from Microsoft Office, custom shapes. Smart art is new to 07 and 10, where you can do like custom org charts, matrices, relationships, pretty nice. Charts like you would in Excel can be brought in and created. A new feature in 10 is screenshot, where it lets you actually take a screen clipping of wherever you're at, might be on the web, and it embeds it right there in that document wherever your cursor is. So that's kind of nice. And then links, it has hyperlink capability, bookmark, cross-reference, header and footer section, page number, text, which is a new one in this one, probably would be the quick parts that we'll go over, and you'll learn that. Different type of quick parts that are added by default. And then objects and text box. Different type of text box is allowed. And then finally symbols. Page layout. This tab goes over, just as it mentions here, the different layout of your page. From margins to watermarks to spacing, indentions on paragraphs. You'll learn that. References has a tab just for references. Dictionary, bibliography, thesaurus, citation, markup, all on this tab. Mailings, one of the last things we do, I believe, on week 5 is show you how to create a newsletter, create your own database within this area of 10 people, I believe, 5 people. I think I have you guys do 5. 5 people you create with names and addresses. You create a newsletter and dump fields into your newsletter and be able to print those out. Or most people today don't use print at all. They just email them to the users immediately, okay, with their email. Now you'll find I'm not a big printer. I mentioned emailing. I don't really print a lot. I don't ask you guys to print a lot. In fact, today's business culture, things are going away from printing. Green is what everybody's doing. So, you know, how many of you have seen a decrease in your own life or maybe where you work of printing the last year or two? And so I really don't print a lot, and you know, everything's PDF. We'll if you don't know what a PDF is, you'll learn what that is and how you can convert things to that formatted document. Not that printing's never used, it's just very rarely used, kind of like the post office. I went to a meeting a couple of weeks ago where they're, you know, talking about closing the Rockford branch because they're consolidating the Rockford branch, wanting to consolidate Rockford branch into Madison because first-class mail's declined. People don't use it as much. You know, granted, there are businesses that do use it, but it's down like 60% over the last 2 years. And so, and that's their bread and butter really for post offices, first-class mail. People email. And so, yeah, that's where everything's going. And then review. This allows you to, actually this was in prior versions, but they put it all in one tab. This lets you, say we were working in a group together to finish a document, say I don't know, a business letter. I could start it and give it to you guys, and then you could mark it up, make comments, and then I could either accept or reject those comments. or those changes, really. And so this is a kind of a nice feature. And then finally, view. A whole tab just for viewing, which means different types of viewing of your document, from print layout to web layout, outline, drafting, zoom, arranging your windows, to a macro, which you'll learn what a macro is, just a pre-recorded action. The view is also down here on the bottom right of your screen, where you can view the screen in different formats. I just closed it. So I can change it to view here as well. Web layout, outline, and draft. For the most part, when you're typing a paper, you're going to have it in print layout view, just so you can see, which is the next piece I like, this zoom tool, where you can see in a snapshot what that page looks like, margin-wise, and what your text looks like. And so that's a new feature as well with 2007, 2010, is where it'll blow it up all the way to 500%, all the way down to 10%. Okay, and that's a nice feature. Scroll bars on the right allows you to scroll back and forth through your text. And so that's the navigation of Word. By default, when Word opens up, this has always been the case, it starts out with a default name, Document 1, and then I like to use shortcut keys. And so if you do a Control-S on your keyboard right now, it'll prompt for a Save As prompt. And then here's where you'll go to name the document. And by default in Windows, it's going to always save it in the Documents area by default. And then you can create a new folder, possibly, for that document. Rename it. And you don't have to do it now, but I'm just showing you how to do it. And then save it. And so now it's saved as cconcle into Documents area. And so while we're talking about saving, before we're done here, USB drive is one of the requirements, and I believe in the syllabus. Okay, and the reason I put it in there as a requirement is some students, your funding or whatever you get paid to take classes, some of you get funding to take classes or whatever. If it's not in the syllabus, you don't get it. And so a few semesters ago, I started putting it as a requirement. Most of you already have USB drives, I know, but some of you might not. And so they're fairly inexpensive, and I'd say get at least a 2 gig minimum USB thumb drive. Now, I always tell students, be real leery of thumb drives as far as do not ever just store the only copy of whatever on a USB thumb drive. Don't do it. USB thumb drives are only meant for temporary storage, never permanent storage. That makes sense? And so when you're working on documents, also another thing I want to tell you about and educate you on is do not ever work from a USB drive natively, meaning you plug it in your computer, you double click on a file in your USB drive and start working on it and saving it. Don't do that. Always take the file off the drive, drag it onto your desktop or something, and work on your desktop. When you're done, drag it back into your USB drive. Okay? If it prompts you to overwrite, that's when you save it as a different name. So that way you have different versions. You've got that original version that was on your USB drive. Now you have a revised version. That makes sense? And you can save those revised versions by dates. So if it's called, I don't know, Document 1, you know, the first one's Document 1, the original one. Maybe it's 1/17/12 Document 1. The next one's 1/18/12 Document 1, so on and so forth. Okay? But the USB drives are made cheaply for the most part. They're a great tool for temporary storage and temporary movement of data. But I always tell students to have at least 3 copies of whatever you're, like say for instance you're creating a presentation for a business or another class or paper, whatever. Always have 3 copies of that file. You'll have one on a USB drive that you're porting from wherever to wherever. Have one on your computer at home, possibly another computer at home, desktop or whatever. Also email it to you. You can email it to yourself easily today, multiple times, and have it in your email somewhere. Because inevitably what happens is a USB drive fails, your computer dies, or maybe both at the same time. And then all you have left is your email, okay? So if it's a important document, and if you've not worked on documents that have taken you a while, you will. Say you've worked on a document for 3 weeks, which isn't uncommon, right? And you put, hours and hours and hours of work in it, and you only have it on a USB thumb drive, and that thumb drive fails. You got to start all over again. So always keep, as you're working on files, whatever files for this class or whatever class, I suggest to students, especially beginning of semester, keep 3 copies of it. Yes, one on the USB drive, but when you take it home, duplicate it. Send it to yourself before you leave the class, or if you're upstairs or you're at home and you've worked on something for an hour, yes, save it to your USB drive, that revision. Also save it to that computer somewhere in a folder, and then also email it to yourself. Does that make sense? Because everybody has free email, whether it be Google or Gmail, Yahoo, RBC email. And so if you do that, what I've just told you, it will save you tons of headaches, believe me. Because it will happen one day to where, I'm not wanting it to happen to you, but it will happen to where you're going to a presentation, you're giving a presentation for a class or, a business, in front of a group of people, and your USB drive doesn't work, or it says it's corrupt when you plug it in. Oh, great. What do I got to do? Well, if you saved it in the email somewhere, you can just go to your email, download it. Make sense? The other real cool tool today I'd recommend for you is called Cloud Document Management, and it's a program called Dropbox. Anybody heard of that? Dropbox? It's totally free. You get I think 2 gigs initially. It works for Mac or PC, and it's what it sounds like. Let me show you what it looks like on the overhead, and I'll end on this one. Here's what Dropbox looks like, and this will save you a lot of time. And Dropbox works for, anybody have a Droid phone? Anybody have a Droid phone? iPhone? Motorola? Okay, so it doesn't matter. There's tons of Blackberries. Anybody have Blackberry? Okay. There's all the ones I just mentioned have apps for all types of mobile phones. Ones I just mentioned and more. So here's Dropbox, dropbox.com. You set up an account. Sign in. And there's my Dropbox. And what's great about it is, once you, if you're at home and you get Dropbox, you have the option to download a client to your computer where it says install Dropbox. What that does is once you download it, it'll recognize too if you're on a Mac. If you're on a Mac, it'll also download it for Mac version or Linux, either one, and even mobile. But anyway, once you download the client onto whatever device you're working your documents from, say you're at home and you're working on a file and you put it in your Dropbox, when you come to school and you log into Dropbox, it's going to be there. It automatically updates on every device and pushes it down to that device. And so you no longer have to remember, oh, it's here or it's there. You use Dropbox, and what it does on a computer is it looks like a drive with a letter, a drive letter. And you just save it right to that drive, the Dropbox drive. It syncs it to the Dropbox online service, and you never have to worry about losing a file or wondering where it's at. And so Dropbox.com has tons of, let's see on the mobile, let's see what it has. iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry. So most your phone devices that you guys have or mobile devices you have. As far as clients, you can download for either a Macintosh computer or a PC. And again, when you download it, it saves it as a drive. And then you can share a file with somebody. Like I had one set up for a photography course for a student where they shared their files with me. And so yeah, Dropbox.com, that's the last thing I recommend for you to get this semester, this week. You can spend time doing that. and that'll help save you some time too. Okay? So let's recap really before I let you go here. Podcast, we talked about that. Class schedule, generally at 7:25 or 7:20 I'll have on the overhead the pin for you guys to type in for the class roll that you can access and put in. We start right at 7:30. I'll generally have a PowerPoint on the overhead. We'll go over and discuss some stuff. The way I do PowerPoints is it's not just boring, go through the PowerPoint and you guys go to sleep. I go through the PowerPoint and stop it and I'll tell you when you first come to class next week at 7:30, I'll say start up Microsoft Word. You guys will watch what I'm going on the overhead and I'll say, okay, let's do this in Word. We'll stop the PowerPoint and we'll do it together and I'll walk around. We'll do that the first few weeks. On week 3, when you come to class, we'll actually have an official in-class exercise that you're going to use and begin using on weeks 3 and 4 and 5 actually. So discussion, in-class exercise for the most part each week, and then finally before you go, like we went over tonight, your take-home. I'll make sure everybody is crystal clear on what to do the next Wednesday. So that's CIS120, week 1 introduction. Hope you learned a lot about Word. I will tell you things that are not in the book just because I like to show students like tips and tricks I've learned over the years using Word that you maybe not seen before, and that helps you gain tools that you'll need for your workplace or just being a student. And so hope to have a great 5 weeks, and if you have any questions, see me before you leave. And when I get home tonight, you'll get an email from me on when the podcast is posted and where it's at. It'll actually be placed, when I email you, it'll actually be placed here in week 1. I'll have it at the very top above About Me. There'll be a podcast in there. Because I have 2 types of podcasts, an announcement podcast. The announcement podcast will actually be posted here, which I go over just general, here's how you get around the course type stuff, like I did the first 10 minutes of class here. And then each week you'll have a post podcast after the session that'll be the very first item in that week's folder. And I'll email you when that's done. Okay? So that'll be posted first. Then the iTunes U takes a bit for me to do, sometimes a day or 2, sometimes to get there. But the YouTube's pretty immediate. And you guys can play that immediately in the browser. All right? Any questions? Yes. Yes. Well, I know all of your Eagle email also goes to your RBC mail, correct? Doesn't work for, they have it locked down or something?
I ended up putting mine on my phone under other and copying that Gmail exactly, you know, your name and that student.
Yeah.
all that in there, and then it automatically updates to my phone.
Yeah, you should be able to import or log in. Most phones have a Gmail option to set up. You should be able to do that. Or like she said, maybe do other and log in that way. What kind of phone do you have?
It's a Droid LG.
Okay, yeah, I think my son's got one of those. So yeah, I would try that. Try setting it up like she mentioned. Maybe in the other area might work. Do you have a Droid on yours? Do you have a Droid or do you have? You have a BlackBerry. So you might try that and see how that works. Has anybody else ported their RBC mail on the phone? Yeah, how'd you end up doing it?
I want to say I went through our mail, the Rockdale mail, and you forward all incoming to my actual Gmail account, so it went to my phone.
And then forward
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can do that too. Yeah, you're right. In the RBC email, you can forward. So that's what you ended up doing?
Yeah, it's automatically any incoming gets forwarded straight to my normal Gmail.
Okay.
account.
There you go. No setup whatsoever, just forward it all.
You got to set it up, not through you, we got to set up through your RBC mail.
Any other questions? All right, well, I'll see everybody next week, and be looking for an email from me tonight before 9:30. Look forward to a great class.